Hi folks, for those new to my guitar channel, my name's Stu and this channel has been for a few years a record of my guitar gear journey, having been away from performing and recording for over 40 years. So if you get time, do check out my channel videos and equipment reviews on all the gear that I've been trying out to use in my small recording studio. Now before I begin, a big thank you to all who made comment on my last video. I really do appreciate the kindness shown, and hopefully there are others who also may be encouraged. So do please get in touch if you're struggling with challenges like that. Now in this video coming up, number one, it can be really easy to get confused about what equipment to buy, particularly if you're new to it all. And is there specific music gear that you need to have to be able to play traditional blues rock? And number two, is there a best guitar for that classic blues rock vibe? And here I'll give you an overview of the guitars and their pickup types that you might want to consider. Number three, as this electric guitar model is the first type that I learned on and an absolute classic, we're going to look at Telecasters first. And a question often asked, do you really need to spend thousands to get a good one? Well, I'll show you two models at extreme ends of the spectrum when it comes to cost, as well as building your own. And number four, conclusion, final remarks. So without further ado, number one. Now, in my younger days, in the early 1970s, there was a fair bit of choice, nothing like today, of course. Today, we do see an overwhelming amount of gear in the marketplace, so I'm going to cut across the noise and get to some points that are important and that you should not lose sight of. So, why do you want to play blues rock guitar? Now, the more passionate you are and the more determined you are, you will indeed learn the general foundation of guitar playing fairly quickly. Should you learn on an acoustic or an electric? Bearing in mind, you do have choices with both. Acoustic guitars come in both acoustic only and electric acoustic, while electric guitars come in either solid body or semi-acoustic models. So it all depends on what you'd like to achieve, but being able to play any of these instruments is definitely a good thing. Attractive to look at. Now, regardless of guitar choice, it's important that you connect with the instrument because it will encourage you to play it more. So the guitar's looks are very important in attracting you to want to pick it up every time you see it. The quality of the instrument. Well, today musical instruments are generally well made and you can get a lot for your money. However, the guitar that you do choose needs to be comfortable to play and it needs to be stable in regard to tuning and made of reasonable materials so that things like the neck doesn't twist or bow given particular environments. You might live in an environment, for example, where it's really hot, cold, or humid, and so that's something you need to be aware of. The cost. Now, you don't have to spend large amounts of money to get a reasonable instrument of any style, and I would advise not to overspend if you're just starting out. There's no need to do that. Now, onto guitar choices for those wanting that blues rock vibe from the late 60s, early 70s. Number two. Now, I'm sure many others will have a view on this, so do feel free to comment below. But do bear in mind that this video is about classic guitar types associated with the late 60s and early 70s era. When it came to blues and the blues and rock scene, there were specific guitars that would always be out front, and arguably the Fender Stratocaster and the Gibson Les Paul would take pole position. Certainly, those were the guitars more commonly seen in my neck of the woods back in the early 70s, albeit most of us could only ever afford some form of Japanese copy. Now, other popular solid body electric guitars of the era would be the Fender Telecaster and the Gibson SG, a nice guitar, an easy guitar to play. And for those who had a flair for the unusual, although I have to say it was rare to see anyone with one of these in my local area, and that would be the Gibson Flying V, the Explorer and the Firebird. For those on a budget, there was the Gibson Les Paul Specials and the Melody Maker. I always liked the Melody Maker. And for those who loved the semi-acoustic style, there was the popular Gibson 335, along with other model number types, which looked very similar. Now, depending on the style of music, folks would switch out pickups, alter the wiring and change the nut, all in search for the tone that they were looking for. In those days, particularly because of lack of money, guitar modifications, they were pretty much the norm. So, if you want that genuine 60s, 70s vibe, what guitar should you be looking at? Now, before we look at the pros and cons of some of the more popular types, all being well with my health in future videos, we need to look at amplification because that has such a profound bearing on the final tone. So, the world of early blues rock. When I was learning, Telecasters, generally speaking, were divided into either 50s or 60s models, often divided into the Leo Fender era, also known as the pre-CBS era, or the CBS era, because that company bought Fender out in 1965. So, starting with number 3. Before I show you some guitars, let me just say that you can buy guitars made by the likes of Harley Benton and others who do a good job producing instruments that seek to emulate classic Fender and Gibson guitars at more affordable prices, 2 of which I'll show you in a moment. So, to start, here is a custom shop Fender 52 Telecaster, and these have really chunky maple necks and fingerboard, and in this case with Blackguard pickups. These have a distinctive tone and feel and do tend to lend themselves more to blues style music. One of my favourite Telecaster players in that genre was the late Roy Buchanan. You should check him out. From my personal perspective, the 50s model is a joy to play and it has so much character. But I will say this, it's not a guitar type for everyone. Even some seasoned players would say, no thank you to this type. It does have a very distinctive feel, and you would be best to try one before looking at the classic 50s style build. Here is a custom shop Fender 61 Telecaster, and it has a slim neck profile and a rosewood fingerboard, and it's fitted with a twisted telly and Blackguard pickup set. Once again, this is an absolute joy to play and sounds fabulous. Whether you want clean, sparkly tones or driving, overdriven rock, this guitar will do both easily. Now, Telecasters of this era were used by many players, but probably best known would be Status Quo. Without doubt, this particular model is really versatile. Here I have a Fender Telecaster Professional USA model. This is a 2019 build, and it's certainly a lot less expensive than the custom shop guitars and is a modern take of the 50s era Telecaster, sporting a slimmer maple neck and fingerboard, smaller frets, compensated brass barrels and V1 mod Tim Shaw Telecaster pickups. Other modern models feature belly and heel carves for added comfort, but for many a die-hard Telecaster fan, that's a modern touch too far. This style of Telecaster, because of the slim neck profile, it feels nothing like the 50s or the 60s era correct custom shop 52 and 61. However, it's a very nice guitar to play and has that lovely Telecaster twang. From an entry-level perspective and staying with Fender, there is the Fender authorised Chinese-built Telecaster debut model, which I bought to review, and you can see that on my channel unboxing playlist. For less than £130 brand new, it's a lot of guitar for your money. Put a decent set of strings on it, make sure it's set up well, and you have yourself a Fender-approved guitar that can be easily used in a live performance. Now, I actually went on to upgrade that guitar with Fender Custom Shop hardware and electrics, and while it improved the guitar further, given the cost of the upgraded parts, it's not something you would want to do. That would be a false economy. So do watch that video if that interests you. Now, as mentioned earlier, there are many T-style copy guitars out there. Another I reviewed was the Gear for Music Knoxville Telecaster with its humbucking pickup in the neck position. Again, a lot of guitar for the money at less than £130. Again, a better set of strings, making sure it's set up properly will make sure the playing experience is at its best. Now, we'll say, I did prefer the Squier debut model. I felt the pickups responded better and it just felt a bit more comfortable in the hands. Now, in recent years, guitar kits have become really popular, but I would be careful. If you are handy with DIY projects, then you could build your own parts caster, and that's what I did. And here you can see the guitar that I named Bluebird. Now, this cost around £1,000 to make, but it was using high quality matched fit body and neck from a good manufacturer here in the UK, and the fairly high cost was really taken up with the higher specification body and neck production and materials. Also, the hardware, the electronics and paint and lacquers were all high quality, which included Fender Custom Shop parts. Now, I could have easily made this guitar for less than half that price, and it would still rival a good Fender built instrument. So, if that interests you, then do watch the 12-part series that I did on that, as I cover just about everything you'd want to see in here. If you're not sure, but are a little intrigued, you can watch the compressed 20-minute version to see if the whole series might just interest you. Now, this guitar, it plays like a dream. It's fabulous to play because I've already altered the neck and fingerboard edges to exactly the way I like it. The pickups are Fender Vintage 64s, and these give a classic Fender Telecaster tone, although they definitely have their own vibe, very different from the other Fenders. is the Telecaster for you? Depending on the body material, which is usually alder or ash, they are a decent weight if you're going to be standing for any length of time. They come in all colours and finishes. They are easy to upgrade. They are virtually bomb-proof. If you get bored with it, you can pull it apart, paint it another colour and fit different parts. And depending on the pickups, you can make this type of guitar fit into both gentle blues or hard rock genres. In fact, the Telecaster is often touted as the only guitar that you need. For me, I use my 50s Telecaster for really blues-based recording material and jamming, and the 60s Telecaster for both blues and melodic or ballad rock recording projects. For those who are looking to record music or play in a band with a number of instruments, the Telecaster is a great instrument that will cut through the mix where needed. Add effects pedals and you can do so much more. Add a Bigsby type tremolo and now you're rivaling the Stratocaster. So number 4, conclusion, final remarks. Yes, you can use just about any guitar to play most genres of music, but this video series is specifically about those interested in what gear was typically used back in the early days. Now, if you never tried a Telecaster, and if you're able, get along to a music store and check out the differences between 50s, 60s and more modern build Telecasters, because they are very different from each other, and pickup types will also have a bearing on whether you're looking for that smooth, bluesy tone or a more rock and roll machine. All being well, in the next video we take a look at another iconic guitar and the various models available that you might want to consider. So do check out my channel playlists, where you will find many videos regarding my journey back to playing and recording guitar after a 40-year break. Lots of stuff on guitars, amplifiers, pedals, and my ongoing journey recording music. As always, a big thank you to those who do take time to comment or chat. I always take time to engage with folks who take time to comment. So until next time, do take care.